Say it ain't so, Mojo. I hate to see you go.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen.
Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host, Haley Taylor Simon, where I talk to you all things about our hockey team here. And we need to dive into today's episode with some sad news for me and maybe for some of you, as fan favorite Matthew Joseph was put on waivers today. Robert Thomas is out due to personal reasons, and we're going to expect to see him on Friday. And finally, we do play Seattle tonight. Blues hockey, we're so back. I don't think the Blues are back as in they're going to win, but I think they're back as in they're going to be playing again. So we have a lot to get to on today's episode of Locked On Blues. So the trade deadline is approaching soon, by the way, my friends. We're 10 days away as the trade deadline is March 6th. It is February 26th today. Oh, yeah, wait, February short. So it's less than 10 days. You get the point. And we're expecting to see some moves. And one of the things that transpired today was Matthew Joseph being put on waivers. And before I talk about that, I want to talk about Mojo as the player because he did come to the Blues with not really high expectations from the fan base necessarily, but he worked hard. And I will give him credit on that. He always worked hard. And I think that's why he became such a fan favorite. We see a lot of guys on the Blues who have not been putting in the work that they should have been putting in this season. And Matthew Joseph is not one of them. He has worked hard. And sometimes at the end of the day, you're just a number in terms of contracts and cap space, right? And I just wanted to be known and to talked about the fact that at the end of the day, yes, this is still a business decision. Yes, this is still a decision to hopefully better the Blues in the long run, but we can still appreciate the hard work that Matthew Joseph has put in. And I just didn't feel like it was right diving into the fact that he was put on waivers without talking about the fact that I did strongly believe he was one of the harder working guys on the team. And it's not just me saying that. It's how his teammates spoke about him. It's how the fans saw him. I mean, it's very evident that Matthew Joseph put in the work. And it sucks. It always sucks when a likable player gets put on waivers or is traded. But we need to talk about what this means. So let's back it up for a second. What does it mean when a guy gets put on waivers? Well, and I know this might sound a little bit silly to some of you because you already know, but some people may not know. So I just want to give some background. It means that other NHL teams have 24 hours to claim him. If no team claims him off of waivers, the Blues can assign him to the Thunderbirds. So that is what it means. And I know that seems a little elementary, but again, I always like to break it down here on this podcast. That way everybody is on the same page. So he got put on waivers. I want to say about a couple hours ago, maybe 3-4 hours ago, and nothing has been done yet. So I will be very interested and intrigued, honestly, to see if anybody picks him off of waivers. Do I have any teams that come to my mind? Not necessarily. And that's the thing about it, is that he would fit in really well with a fourth line. But again, do I think anyone's going to look at him and say, oh, well, let's go claim him, as there might be some better candidates that might come up later? Because it's still relatively early when you think about the trade deadline as a whole. He's in his final year of a 4-year contract, which is about a $2.95 million cap hit. And this season, I know that it hasn't been the best, right? With 2 goals, 11 points in the 39 games. I know that he's been healthy scratched a lot. And again, I am not denying that. The Blues reportedly and allegedly have tried to trade him before they placed him on waivers, and they couldn't find a deal. That is why, again, as I stated, I don't know necessarily if any team's going to claim him because they weren't able to trade him. But again, you never know, and a team might just pick him up and That's that. But it sucks. I'm not surprised in the bigger picture that he was put on waivers. I think that if you're going to be open about trying to trade a player and then you put him on waivers, it kind of signals to me that you made your decision. And for the Blues' sake, I mean, this allows space on the roster for Dylan Holloway to return. So it's going to be really good to see Dylan Holloway back in action. And I love Holloway. And I don't want my excitement for Holloway to take away the fact that I'm still a little bit bummed about Matthew Joseph. However, at the end of the day, I still think that you need to sell as much as possible in order for the Blues to become a successful team. This is a Blues team, and I'm just being very transparent with you all right now, that needs a total makeover. And I'm not going to hold my breath and I'm not going to defend that this has been a bad season. It has been a bad season. And if you have a player that you're constantly healthy scratching, then maybe it's time to say goodbye. And the bad thing about it is, while they couldn't trade him, it sucks because you won't get any draft picks, you won't get any prospects. But again, what would you even get back in return from a trade with Matthew Joseph? And I don't mean to undermine Matthew Joseph by any means, but that is the reality. What would you get from Matthew Joseph? But I also want to bring up this point too, because it is very important that we also talk about this in a sense. Doug Armstrong obviously is going to be making moves if this is happening now. And that's why Matthew Joseph being put on waivers today signaled to me that it's going to be a very busy trade deadline for the Blues, because they made a little bit of an AHL trade. And let's also keep it for how it is. That's active, right? You're the first trade after the freeze, after the Olympic pause, when you can make trades again. You make a little bit of an AHL trade, and now you put Matthew Joseph on waivers after attempting to trade him. So that is showing me that you have something bigger in mind. Because if you really wanted to get more draft picks and you really wanted to maybe acquire a prospect or two, you wouldn't take no for an answer with the attempted trade of Matthew Joseph. You would bundle up a package. So that is telling me that something big is about to go down. I am using my hockey context clues, okay? And maybe the big move that's going to be made isn't going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. Maybe it's going to happen on March 6th. I don't think that Doug Armstrong is going to do nothing this trade deadline. I think it's going to be the opposite. I think that he's going to have to put the Blues in a position to where if they truly want to rebuild, you need to first off get rid of some money that you shouldn't even be paying some of these guys, if we're being honest with you. And you need to be putting Alexander Steen in the best position possible for when he takes over as GM at the end of this season, when the season concludes. Doug Armstrong has been Blues GM. This is his 15th season. He knows what he is doing. And I know what a lot of you are going to say. Oh, well, he was so focused on, Canada. Okay. They won silver medals. I'm happy USA won. But what I am seeing now, with already multiple moves being made, is that he is present in the Blues' rebuild, so to say. Because if he thought, hey, everything's fine, he wouldn't be doing nothing. He's doing something. And again, maybe that's not proper English. Maybe I'm a little bit too enthusiastic right now. But there is a sense of optimism for me. Because again, my friends, I just need you to keep this in mind. This is a Blues team that I don't want to win. I want them to lose. Honestly, I want them to lose. I want this team to tank so they get McKenna or Stenberg. I don't want them to win. There was a great picture, actually, of McKenna photoshopped wearing the blue note, and it looked beautiful. It looked right. Okay. I don't want this team to win, but I want this team to sell. And if they sell correctly, then that is a win for me, in all honesty. And having the younger guys play more minutes and get the opportunity. So, again, it sucks about Matthew Joseph. I believe he's like, 28, 29. It's not like he's a young guy, and that's so weird. I just turned 27, so for me to say that, it's like, oh, I'm throwing digs at myself. But again, he served his time here. I hope that he gets claimed because, again, it would be cool maybe for him to go to a contending team, but I doubt it if nobody wanted to trade for him. So we'll see. But again, claiming off of waivers is so much better than trading for a player if you're a team that potentially has interest in him because you don't have to give up anything, which is the benefit of claiming a player off of waivers. So coming up, I want to talk to you about my guy, RT18. Yes, I am talking about Robert Thomas because there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of conversation about him. And I want to dive into some of the rumors going on with him and potentially being linked to Detroit, as well as why we're not seeing him in tonight's contest. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and have it in person for you? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and you're thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in. And now, not only can you pick cash, but you could also be sent to the finals. So visit fanduel.com and get started and use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA finals. Play your game of FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I need to tell you something really cool that we're doing as a network because this is something that's free and that you should take advantage of. And that is called our Everydayer Club. The Everydayer Club, you get to listen to ad free audio of Locked On Blues, and you're also given access to a group chat on Discord and more. And the best part is, I did mention free. If you use code DEADLINE, DEADLINE, ahead of the trade deadline, March 6th, for 1 month, you get access for free. That is right. So the link will be down below. But again, this is something that I really encourage you to take advantage of because it is really cool what we've built over on the Discord and the ad free audio. And on top of that, it's free. So you're really not losing out on anything. If anything, you're going to be listening to ad free episodes of Locked On Blues for a month and a cool group chat. So I did mention to you that Robert Thomas will not be playing in tonight's contest and he is out due to personal reasons. Again, when it comes to the players and their personal lives, I don't ever want to dig around and find out why. One, it's none of my business, and two, it's none of my business. I think that people that go out of their way to find out why a player isn't available are the worst kinds of people because obviously something happened in Robert Thomas's life that is preventing him from being able to play tonight. So I wanted to address that because a lot of people assumed it had something to do with him being traded, and I just want to say this. I have been in NHL locker rooms as some trades have gone down, and it's very evident that something's going to happen, right? With Robert Thomas being out and him expected to return on Friday, that statement alone tells me it has nothing to do with the trade at all. Something obviously personal happened in his life, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Again, it's none of our business. Again, I hope everything is okay with Robert Thomas and his family, always keeping them in our thoughts because you never know. So let's leave it at that. But again, I wanted to address that only because of how the rumors have been with him potentially being somebody that might be traded. And I made an episode about this yesterday and I touched on it briefly, but I want to talk about it a little bit more. We have talked about Robert Thomas and the fact that maybe this season hasn't been the best season for RT18. And he is my favorite blue. I mean, I have a jersey of him that was really badly made behind me. My Twitter bio literally says it's Robert Thomas season. I talk about him extensively. Obviously, he's my favorite player. And I want to say this. He has been dealing with somewhat of an injury bug, not only this season, last season with the ankle, right? And this season, he has played 42 games. He has 11 goals, 22 assists, and 33 points. And 9 power play points, which I'll give him credit. For the Blues, that's pretty good. But the reason why I mention this is simple. I know this season he's not putting up the numbers that we kind of expected to see from him. And sometimes there's parts to his game that are a little bit frustrating, as in he's not the guy to take the shot, he's the guy to pass. But I think that's what makes him so valuable too at the same time. In my humble opinion, it would be a mistake to trade Robert Thomas. He does have a no trade clause. So it's not like, Dougie A can just ship him out of here. But in my opinion, it would be a mistake. And for a team that would receive him, of course, it would be a big benefit for them, obviously. But I just don't see a world where it makes sense for the Blues. You can still do a rebuild, so to say, or a mini rebuild and still have your best player on the team. For the Blues, right? Let's go say you trade Robert Thomas. Well, you're going to want a guy to be a 1C. Would you look at Dvorsky and say that he's ready for that role? Now, I will say this. He did a great job in the Olympics, and he stepped up. I mean, he's played in that position this season for the Blues. And there is a big part of me that thinks, well, one day, but do I think one day is today for Dvorsky? And the answer is no. And I don't mean that in the sense that I don't trust him. I still feel like he's 20 years old. He has a lot of developing and learning to still do. And he's already playing such great hockey, breaking Olympic records. And this has nothing to do with what he's been doing. It's just there's somebody, and that somebody is Robert Thomas, who has the experience and, in my opinion, is the most skilled player on the team. I think that if you were to trade Robert Thomas, you would have to receive something big in return. And do I think Detroit's going to do that? Absolutely not. And I don't think you're going to be able to get the return that a Robert Thomas should give you. And again, we can debate it all we want, right? Oh, well, his stats this season aren't good. Okay, well, he's been out multiple times this season due to injury. Like, he works so hard. I know I talked about Matthew Joseph working hard. Robert Thomas is on a different level when it comes to recovering. I had the opportunity to speak to Robert Thomas in the beginning-ish of the season, I would say. November is still kind of beginning, yeah. And, yeah, mid-November, so. And I actually have his intro. I didn't play it yet, but I'll tell you why I have that. So, anywho, I was talking to him off record, and that's the thing that we do in journalism school. We learn that if you want to talk to guys off record, you don't record it, right? So I don't have it with his audio. And I'm not going to tell you word for word what was said, but I mean, what I can say, because you're allowed to still summarize a little bit, ethics, right? Is that he was so happy to be back and healthy. And again, no player wants to be on IR. No player wants to be out for an extended period of time, unless you're Mark Stone of the Vegas Golden Knights. In that case, no, I need to stop being petty. I really don't like the Golden Knights. And I made it like a whole month without talking about them. But I can't help it. When I think of IR, I just think about Mark Stone and how I can't stand him. But anywho, going back, Robert Thomas, RT18. I mean, I guess Dylan Larkin, but I doubt Detroit's going to give up him. So you get the point that I'm saying is that I don't think they're going to give up anybody that's going to be worth it for us. But it is interesting with all of these rumors. That's one thing that has kind of bothered me is that last year it was a lot of Jordan Cairo, a lot of Shen. This year, it's a lot of Binnington and it's a lot of Robert Thomas. And I don't know if media reporters, they just look at, oh, who's been not playing to their full potential this season for the Blues. I mean, the whole team. But I don't know where they come up with this stuff. I mean, I think you can make more of an argument for Joel Hofer to be traded more than Binnington. Because he's younger and he could really fit into that franchise goalie position. I want that I want him to stay. I don't want him to be traded. I'm just saying that if you're somebody on a different team that is struggling with goalies, which is actually a lot of teams in the NHL, I feel like Joel Hofer would be the better option just due to the fact that he's younger and he's actually having a good season. But again, I don't think people do their research because I watch a lot of hockey and I know a lot of these players that are backup goalies and players that are not as popular. And I feel like people, if they took the time to do research, they would see how great of a season Joel Hofer really has had for himself. But hey, I don't want to put that idea out there. I mean, I'm sure the GMs know, obviously, so it doesn't really matter what the fans think, so to say. Anyways, the Blues play a game tonight. I'm so sorry to all of us. No, but they do play tonight. And I'm going to talk to you about the Blues and Seattle. I know. Can you believe it that we have a hockey game tonight? I'm going to talk to you about that right after this. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need the right hire. And this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidates stumbles across your post. No. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms apply and conditions apply. Need a hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. I cannot believe we haven't had Blues hockey in such a long time. And I cannot thank the Olympics enough. I mean, we saw a great Team USA takedown. I mean, takeover. They took down Canada. That's what I meant. Sorry. No. And we got to watch some really good hockey. Unfortunately, the Blues, they're back. If you like it or not, they are so back. And I want to tell you, by the way, about the lineup. And I'm going to talk to you about how I think it's going to go, because it's probably not going to go well. So as I said, the Blues are back. Robert Thomas is out. We have no more Mojo. Oh, guys, I'm going to be so honest with you. This sucks. And I'll tell you why it sucks. Because in our first line, as our 1C, it's Bushi. Yeah, it's a loss. It's a loss, fam. On his left, it's going to be Jake Neighbors, and on the right, it's Kyrou. 2C, Dvorsky. We love Dvorsky. To the left, it's going to be Schenner, and then to the right, Snuggie. Finally, 3C Suits. To the left, Dylan Holloway. To the right, it's Bergen. And I would personally move Neighbors down to the third line and put Holloway on the first line. I think Holloway and Kyrou really feed off each other. But again, my opinion. And then finally, Jack Finley, who we did claim off of waivers. He's going to be our 4C. To the left, it's Alexei Turchenko. And then to the right, it's the Aussie, Nathan Walker. Finally, defense, Broberg, Parayko, Tucker, Folk, Fowler, Mayu. And then in net tonight, it's going to be Joel Hofer. I don't like it. I can tell you that. I don't like this at all. In my opinion, I think that this is kind of a weak lineup, but again, this is a weak team. So not so big of a fan after that. 5 players on the Blues, by the way, did make that trip to Italy. And silver medalists, we have Biddington and Parayko. And I believe that they're going to be honored tonight from what I saw. Anywho, the Kraken enter tonight's matchup looking for a respond after they had a 4-1 loss to Dallas yesterday in their first game back after break. This loss, by the way, that Seattle had, they're out of third place in the Pacific Division and into the second wild card spot when it comes to the Western Conference. So Seattle actually has a lot to play for in a sense, because the Blues, I can tell you this, they have absolutely nothing to play for because they should not try to win. I can tell you that. This is going to be a home game, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, hence, Biddington and Parayko being honored. This will be the second under 3 matchups this season. And I need to also say this. The Blues did lose to Seattle in overtime when they played them for the first time in November. And I really hope that this is a regulation loss for the Blues, because we need to get our tank on. Other teams are kind of catching up to us. So we just need to keep that in mind. I am excited to see Snuggerud. I have missed watching him play, so I hope that he ends up having a good game. I mean, there really isn't much to say other than the fact that Seattle has something to play for. The Blues do not. The Blues are literally such a bad team. And it's not just me saying it, it's literally the stats. It's everybody saying it, that if they do somehow win tonight, then Seattle doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs. Like, that is how for real I am being. Dallas is a great team. I'm not surprised that the Stars won. But again, you can't look at this Blues team and tell me that they have enough star power to win games. And lastly, what I will say is that two things, actually. One, I do have Robert Thomas's intro to my podcast as a backup in case Braden Shen gets traded. I think they had like another kid or something. I don't know. I'm talking about Shen. I don't know. I think the Blues posted that. And then number two, I am actually contemplating on making an episode about Jim Montgomery and how long I think he's going to actually last as head coach, because I am not happy with how the season has gone. So we'll see. All right. I will talk to you later, post game conversation. Like always, let's go Blues. Or you know what? I'll be more positive. Let's go Blues.